Within you lives the Logos frequency, the sacred power that turns words into living force. When you begin to speak like this, your voice stops being an ordinary sound and becomes a command that reality itself responds to. Start speaking like this, and you will discover how a single aligned word can shift the world around you. The Logos frequency. Introduction. The power of your voice extends far beyond mere communication. It is a divine instrument of creation itself. Within each syllable you speak lies a frequency, a vibration that ripples through the fabric of reality. This sacred knowledge has been whispered through the ages, passed down by those who understood that words are seeds planted in the fertile soil of existence. When you grasp that your speech carries creative force, you begin to understand why the ancient texts speak of the word with such reverence. Every utterance sends forth waves of energy that shape not only your own consciousness, but the very matrix of your experience. Your words are not merely describing your reality, they are actively programming it. The Logos frequency represents the underlying intelligence that connects speech to manifestation. It is the bridge between thought and form, between intention and reality. When you align your voice with this frequency, speaking from a place of clarity and conscious creation rather than unconscious reaction, you step into your role as a co-creator with the universe. This is not about mimicking divinity, but about recognizing the divine creative force that already flows through you. When you speak with presence and purpose, your words carry the weight of authentic power. They become charged with the energy of possibility rather than limitation. Your current circumstances reflect the accumulated vibration of your past speech patterns. Each complaint has reinforced struggle. Each expression of gratitude has attracted more blessings. Each declaration of intention has carved a path toward its fulfillment. To access the Logos frequency requires bringing awareness to your speech, noticing not just what you say, but the energy behind your words. Are you speaking from fear or faith? From lack or abundance? From reaction or intention? This awareness begins the transformation from unconscious speech to conscious creation. The essence of speaking like God is not about volume or force, but about alignment with truth and creative power. It is about recognizing that your voice, when properly attuned, becomes an instrument through which the infinite expresses itself in the finite world. Before we get into the book, comment, "I am ready," to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. Awakening the Creative Voice. Chapter 1. The First Echo. In a small town where whispers shaped the wind, there lived a young woman named Clara. Each morning she would tell her reflection, "Everything is always so hard, and nothing ever works out for me." These words flowed from her lips like a familiar melody, one she had sung for so long she no longer noticed its tune. Yet the universe listened. With each lament, each sigh of resignation, Clara's world seemed to draw closer to her words. Bills arrived at the most challenging moments. Opportunities slipped through her fingers like water, and even the simplest tasks grew thorny with complications. The more she spoke of life's difficulties, the more her days filled with the very struggles she described. Your words are not mere observers of your reality. They are magnets drawing experiences that match their frequency. Each statement you make sends ripples through the fabric of existence, attracting circumstances that resonate with its vibration. The universe does not judge these declarations as good or bad. It simply responds with unwavering loyalty to the signals you broadcast. Consider Theodore, who discovered this truth through an elegant experiment. Every morning, as dawn painted the sky, he would stand at his window and declare with gentle certainty, "Clarity and opportunity are finding their way to me now." He didn't shout these words or force himself to believe them. He simply offered them to the morning air like seeds scattered in fertile soil. At first, nothing seemed to change, but gradually Theodore's perception began to shift. He noticed subtle openings where before he saw only walls. Conversations revealed possibilities he had overlooked. Ideas that had been floating at the edges of his awareness came into sharp focus. His words had become a lens, focusing his attention on the very opportunities he spoke of. Your speech shapes your perception before it shapes your circumstances. Each word you utter is an instruction to your mind, directing its vast resources toward experiences that match your declarations. This is not about forcing false positivity, but about aligning your voice with the reality you wish to experience. Practice. As your day unfolds, become aware of the sentences you speak about your life, both silently and aloud. Notice their tone, their underlying assumptions, their subtle predictions about what is possible. Then, with gentle intention, begin reshaping these statements. Where you once said, "This always happens to me," try, "I am learning and growing through each experience." Let your voice carry the calm certainty of someone who knows that reality listens and responds to every word. This is not about dramatic declarations, but about cultivating a steady tone that suggests life is moving naturally toward greater harmony and fulfillment. Chapter 2. The Language of Creation. In the heart of a bustling marketplace, Elsie's bakery wafted with the aroma of fresh bread and warm pastries. Her creations drew admiration from all who visited, yet her words painted a different picture. "I'm always behind," she would say, kneading dough with practiced hands. "There's never enough time," became her morning refrain. "Everything's overwhelming," she'd sigh while arranging displays. Day after day these phrases flowed from her lips like water, and gradually the weight of them settled into her movements. Tasks that once brought joy became sources of anxiety. The clock seemed to spin faster, and her shoulders carried an invisible burden that grew heavier with each utterance of overwhelm. It is here we discover a fundamental truth. The subconscious mind receives every spoken word as a command, as an architect's blueprint for reality. When you speak, you are not merely describing your world. You are programming the very frequency at which your experience vibrates. Each phrase becomes a seed, taking root in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Consider how Harold, a craftsman in the village square, transformed his workshop through the power of aligned speech. Where others saw economic uncertainty, he began speaking of meaning and growth. "My work serves a purpose," he would say while sanding wood. "Each piece I create adds value," he'd whisper as he carved. Even when orders slowed, his words remained steady. "Opportunities for growth surround me." At first, nothing seemed to change, but slowly, subtly, Harold's posture straightened. His eyes began to notice details he'd overlooked before. Customers sensed a shift in his presence. and soon new commissions appeared, as if his words had tuned reality to a different frequency. This mirrors an ancient understanding. Your voice acts as a tuning fork for consciousness. The vibration of your words resonates through your thoughts, emotions, and actions until your outer world harmonizes with the frequency you maintain. Know this: reality responds not to fleeting emotions but to the persistent tone of your speech. A single moment of frustration matters less than the steady current of words you speak day after day. For your practice in the days ahead, let your voice become a gentle rudder guiding your life's ship. As you move through ordinary moments, speak with quiet intention. Rather than, "This is too much," try, "I am moving through this with ease." Instead of, "I never have time," say, "I am using my time wisely." Don't force these new patterns. Let them flow naturally, like water finding its course. Your role is simply to speak and observe, allowing each intentional word to ripple outward, slowly reshaping the landscape of your experience. Chapter 3. The Voice Behind Thought. In the quiet shadows of an ancient library, a young man named Benny sat surrounded by manuscripts and scrolls. Each evening he would find himself lost in an endless loop of replaying conversations. Harsh words spoken by others, missed opportunities to speak up, moments of perceived failure. These mental dialogues consumed his thoughts until one transformative evening when he noticed something remarkable. His body responded to these internal conversations as if they were happening in real time. His shoulders would tense, his breath would shorten, his heart would race, all from words that existed only in his mind. This revelation unveils a truth known to mystics throughout the ages. The inner voice carries the same creative power as spoken words. When you speak silently to yourself, you are not merely remembering or planning. You are actively shaping the landscape of your consciousness, molding the very substance from which your experiences emerge. The Logos frequency, that divine creative force that flows through all speech, does not distinguish between words spoken aloud and those whispered in the chambers of your mind. Each thought, each internal dialogue, ripples through the fabric of your being, programming your nervous system, directing your attention, and ultimately manifesting in your outer reality. Consider the wisdom of Mildred, a teacher who discovered this truth through her own journey. Where once she silently lamented the challenges of each day, the endless tasks, the difficult students, the mounting pressures, she began instead to narrate her experiences with gentle appreciation. "This moment offers an opportunity for growth," she would think while facing a challenging class. "I move through my day with ease and purpose," became her silent mantra between tasks. Within weeks, the texture of her experiences began to shift. The same circumstances that once seemed overwhelming now appeared manageable. Her focus sharpened, her stress diminished, and her effectiveness increased, not because her external world had changed, but because she had transformed the voice that interpreted it. This transformation reveals a fundamental truth. Your mind does not maintain rigid boundaries between thought, speech, and reality. These elements flow together in an endless dance of creation, each affecting and being affected by the others. The words you speak internally become the lens through which you perceive life, and that perception shapes the experiences you attract and create. Ancient practice, the silent narrator. Find a quiet moment each day to begin this gentle practice. Allow your inner voice to become a kind companion, narrating your experiences with warmth and wisdom. As you move through your daily activities, let this voice speak words of patience, understanding, and possibility. I move through this moment with grace, it might say, or each experience brings me closer to my highest good. Don't strain to believe these words. Simply allow them to float through your consciousness like soft music, gradually transforming the atmosphere of your inner world. Chapter 4. The Frequency of Certainty. In a quiet village there lived a gardener named Lillian, who spent her days tending to a vast array of flowers and vegetables. Each morning she would walk through her garden, speaking to her plants, not with wishful hope, but with serene certainty about their growth and vitality. "Your roots grow strong and deep," she would say to the young saplings. "Your flowers bloom in perfect time," she whispered to the rose bushes. Over seasons of cultivation, Lillian noticed something remarkable. The plants she spoke to with the greatest certainty flourished most abundantly. This wasn't mere coincidence. Her words shaped the quality of attention she gave them. When she spoke of strength, her hands moved with greater care. When she voiced vitality, her watering became more precise. Through this subtle dance of speech and action, a profound truth emerges. The Logos frequency awakens not through forced declarations, but through the natural alignment of voice and conviction. Your words carry vibrations that ripple through your nervous system, organizing your movements, attention, and choices. When you speak with quiet certainty, your entire being aligns with that certainty. This principle found expression in the life of Franklin, a craftsman who dreamed of opening his own workshop. For years he spoke of his aspirations with hesitation. "I hope to, and maybe someday." But one autumn morning, he began speaking differently. "My workshop serves the community," he would say calmly, as if stating a simple truth. "My skills grow stronger each day." He didn't shout these words or strain to believe them. Instead, he let them flow naturally, like water finding its course. As weeks passed, his hands moved with greater precision. He began organizing his tools differently. Opportunities appeared, not through magic, but through his heightened readiness to recognize and act upon them. Your voice carries this same power. When you speak with calm conviction rather than desperate intensity, you activate the Logos frequency, that subtle vibration that aligns speech, thought, and action into a single flowing current of creation. Sacred practice, the certainty tone. Each morning, choose one intention that matters deeply to you. Find a quiet moment and speak this intention aloud, not with force or strain, but with natural certainty. Let your voice carry the calm assurance of stating something as simple as, "The sun rises in the east." Speak your intention 3 times, allowing your tone to settle into deeper authenticity with each repetition. Notice how your body responds to this grounded certainty. Let this become your daily practice, aligning your voice with the natural creative power that flows through all things. Remember, the universe responds not to the complexity of your words, but to the clarity of your signal. Let your voice become that clear signal, carrying the quiet power of unshakable knowing. Chapter 5. Words as Seeds. In a serene valley among rolling hills, there lived a woman named Daisy, who found her greatest joy in nurturing a modest garden. Each morning she would observe her growing plants, noting how some seeds sprouted swiftly, while others required weeks of patient tending before revealing their first green shoots. As seasons passed, Daisy began to perceive a profound connection between gardening and the words she spoke about her life. Just as seeds need consistent care to flourish, every word you speak plants itself in the fertile soil of consciousness. These verbal seeds carry within them the potential for manifestation, waiting to be nourished by your attention and emotional energy. When you scatter words carelessly, speaking of limitations or expressing doubt, you sow seeds that may grow into forests of hesitation. Yet when you choose your words with intention, speaking of possibility and growth, you plant gardens of opportunity that gradually transform your landscape of belief. The truth whispered by sages throughout time remains unchanged. Your words are living things, carrying the power to shape the reality you experience. Each statement you make sends ripples through the universal field, creating patterns that either support or hinder your desires. The universe responds not to wishes, but to the unwavering frequency of certainty in your voice. Arthur, a quiet craftsman, discovered this wisdom through his own practice. Each evening, he developed a ritual of sitting in stillness and speaking aloud the progress he had witnessed in his day, no matter how small. "Today, I moved one step closer to mastery," he would say, or, "I notice my skills deepening with each project." At first, these statements felt like mere observations, but as days turned to weeks, Arthur found his motivation strengthening. His mind, attuned to the frequency of growth, began naturally seeking evidence of progress, creating a self-fulfilling cycle of improvement. Just as plants respond to sunlight, your beliefs respond to the nourishment of words. Every time you speak with conviction about your path, you strengthen the roots of possibility in your consciousness. The power lies not in forceful declarations, but in the gentle, persistent tending of your verbal garden. Practice. As each day draws to a close, find a peaceful moment to sit in quietness. Speak softly but clearly 3 sentences that acknowledge the progress you've witnessed, the hope you hold, and the direction you're moving toward. Let these words settle into your consciousness like seeds finding their place in rich soil, knowing they carry within them tomorrow's experiences. This simple practice, maintained with patience, allows your words to become the nurturing force that shapes your reality's garden. Chapter 6. The Quiet Authority of Speech. In a small village among rolling hills, a schoolteacher named Nora discovered an unexpected truth about the power of her voice. Each morning, as sunlight filtered through classroom windows, she observed how her students responded differently to various tones in her speech. When anxiety or frustration colored her words, the classroom buzzed with restless energy. Yet on days when she spoke with quiet certainty, her students naturally found their rhythm, like instruments tuning to a conductor's steady hand. The voice carries more than mere sound. It transmits the subtle frequencies of intention and belief. When your speech flows from a place of inner alignment, it awakens the logos frequency, that ancient creative force that shapes reality through sound. This power emerges not from commanding others, but from establishing harmony between your thoughts, words, and presence. Consider how a master musician doesn't force the strings but allows them to resonate with perfect pitch. Similarly, Authority in speech comes from alignment rather than assertion. Each word you speak sends ripples through the field of consciousness, affecting both the speaker and the listener in ways that extend beyond mere meaning. In the bustling market square, Walter, a merchant known for his gentle way with customers, began an experiment in self-dialogue. Having spent years speaking with patience and understanding to others, he realized his inner voice remained harsh and critical. One morning, he decided to address himself with the same kindness he offered his patrons. As days turned to weeks, Walter noticed a subtle shift. The constant stream of self-doubt began to quiet, replaced by a steady confidence that seemed to arise from nowhere and everywhere at once. His decisions became clearer, his presence more assured, not because he forced these changes, but because he had changed the very atmosphere in which his thoughts took root. This transformation reveals a fundamental truth. The way you speak to yourself creates the emotional climate in which all your actions grow. Like the difference between harsh sunlight and gentle rain, the tone of your inner dialogue determines what can flourish in the garden of your mind. The ancient practice of vocal harmony. Find a quiet moment each day to practice speaking to yourself as though addressing someone worthy of infinite patience and understanding. Let your voice carry the same warmth and respect you would naturally offer a cherished friend. Notice how your words feel as they form, allowing each statement to emerge with gentle authority. This isn't about crafting perfect phrases, but about cultivating a tone that nurtures growth and possibility. As you continue this practice, observe how the quality of your thoughts begins to shift, responding to this new frequency of self-directed compassion. Chapter 7. Hearing the Hidden Pattern. In a quiet corner of the ancient library, Mabel watched life unfold between the towering shelves. Each whispered conversation, each animated discussion carried patterns that echoed through the halls. As she arranged books and guided visitors, she began recognizing how people wove the same phrases into their daily speech, like threads in a tapestry that revealed their deepest beliefs about life. The universe speaks through patterns, and your words form the most powerful pattern of all. Every statement you make carries a frequency that ripples through the fabric of existence, creating resonance with matching experiences. When you listen closely to your own speech, you uncover the invisible architecture of your reality. Your language is not random. It follows precise patterns that reflect your inner knowing about what is possible. These patterns act as instructions to the universal mind, which responds by orchestrating circumstances that mirror your words. The power lies not in occasional statements, but in the quiet repetition of phrases that shape your expectations. In the bustling marketplace, Clarence, a merchant, discovered this truth. For 7 days, he simply listened to his own voice as he conducted business. He noticed how often he said, "Things are always difficult, and nothing ever changes." These weren't just words. They were unconscious commands to his experience. With this awareness, he began gently shifting his language. "I notice new possibilities," replaced his old phrases. "Life flows with surprising ease," became his quiet refrain. The simple act of noticing created space for transformation. Clarence didn't force new beliefs. He allowed his natural speech to evolve, like a river finding a clearer channel. His conversations began carrying a different tone, and gradually, his days reflected this new pattern. Your words are not merely describing your life. They are actively creating it. Every phrase you regularly speak becomes a template for future experience. The universe responds not to your occasional declarations, but to the quiet patterns in your daily speech. Practice. The ancient art of pattern recognition. Move through your day as a gentle observer of your own speech. Notice which phrases you repeat most often about yourself, your work, your relationships, and your future. Don't judge these patterns. Simply become aware of them. When you recognize a limiting phrase, softly reshape it toward possibility. Let this awareness be light and natural, like watching clouds shift in the sky. Your voice will gradually find new patterns that align with growth and harmony, creating fresh pathways for life to flow. This observation itself begins the transformation. As you witness your speech patterns, they naturally evolve toward greater clarity and possibility, like a stream finding its way to the ocean. Chapter 8. Speaking with Alignment. In a bustling marketplace long ago, Pearl, a gifted seamstress, carefully matched threads to fabrics with an artist's precision. Each day she spoke of her work with practiced phrases, yet noticed that her most beautiful creations emerged when her words flowed from genuine feeling rather than routine. Through this simple observation, a timeless truth unveiled itself. Just as a perfect stitch requires alignment between needle and thread, powerful speech demands harmony between thought, emotion, and voice. When you speak from misalignment, your words scatter like leaves in the wind, carrying little force or direction. Yet when your thoughts, feelings, and speech move as one, they weave a pattern of remarkable influence in the fabric of reality. This unity creates what the ancient ones called the logos frequency, the creative vibration that transforms mere sounds into seeds of manifestation. Consider how water flows smoothly through a straight pipe, yet struggles through twisted passages. Similarly, when your inner state aligns with your spoken word, creative energy moves without resistance. This alignment does not demand perfect circumstances or elaborate declarations. It asks only for the courage to speak from authenticity, letting your voice carry the natural weight of your truth. A merchant named Leonard discovered this principle through his own journey. Known for his fair dealings but frustrated by frequent misunderstandings, he began taking quiet moments before important conversations to center himself in honest intention. He would breathe deeply, clear his thoughts, and allow his words to arise from that still point of clarity. Soon others remarked on the subtle shift in his presence. His proposals met with greater reception, his negotiations flowed more smoothly, and even difficult messages found graceful expression. Leonard had not changed his vocabulary or raised his volume. He had simply aligned his speech with his authentic intention. This story reveals a fundamental truth. Words carry power not through forceful projection, but through inner coherence. When you speak from this aligned state, reality responds not to the words themselves, but to the unified field of energy they express. Think of it as tuning an instrument. When all strings vibrate in harmony, the resulting music touches hearts and moves spirits. The ancient practice of aligned speech. Before entering any significant conversation, pause briefly to gather your presence. Take 3 conscious breaths, feeling your intention settle into your body. Let your next words arise naturally from this centered space, speaking as though the universe itself listens through the silence. This simple practice, passed down through generations of wisdom keepers, allows your voice to become an instrument of authentic creation rather than mere communication. Chapter 9. The Power of Gentle Repetition. In a small, sunlit kitchen, Betty hummed softly as she moved through her morning routine. While preparing breakfast for her family, she had formed a gentle habit of whispering, "Peace flows through this home like morning light." At first, it seemed like nothing more than a pleasant thought. Yet as days turned to weeks, something subtle began to shift. Her children's morning arguments softened into playful banter. Her husband's rushed departures became moments of genuine connection, and the usual chaos of daybreak transformed into a harmonious dance. The power of repetition lies not in force, but in persistence. When words are spoken consistently, they weave themselves into the fabric of consciousness, becoming as natural as breath. The mind does not distinguish between what is true and what is repeatedly heard. It simply absorbs and adapts to the dominant patterns of thought and speech. This principle reveals why the Logos frequency responds most powerfully to steady, patient repetition. Like water shaping stone, it is the gentle persistence of words that eventually transforms belief. Each repeated phrase acts as a signal, training the mind's attention to notice evidence that supports it. The universe seems to mirror back what is consistently spoken, not because it bends to human will, but because perception itself begins to shift. In a quiet office across town, Chester discovered this truth in his own way. Each morning, before opening his computer, he would simply state, "I learn and grow with natural ease." The words felt awkward at first, almost foreign on his tongue. Yet as days passed, he found himself volunteering for new projects, asking more questions in meetings, and approaching challenges with unexpected confidence. The simple phrase had become a lens through which he viewed his capabilities. This mirrors an eternal truth. What you consistently say shapes what you consistently see. Chester's story shows how repeated words become the foundation of new beliefs, which then manifest as new behaviors and experiences. His mind, trained by repetition, began seeking opportunities for growth that had always existed, but remained previously unnoticed. The power lies not in the complexity of words chosen, but in their faithful repetition. Like drops of water filling a vessel, each repetition adds to the growing power of belief until it overflows into visible change. Throughout your day, select one phrase that resonates with your deepest intention. Let it become your companion, whispering it in quiet moments, weaving it naturally into conversations, allowing it to float through your thoughts while working or resting. This gentle repetition needs no force. Simply let the words become as familiar as your own name, allowing them to sink deeply into your awareness until they become the lens through which you view your world. Chapter 10. The moment words become reality. In the gentle stillness of dawn, Rosie sat at her piano, fingers hovering above the keys. Each morning she would softly speak her musical aspirations into the quiet air. "My compositions will touch hearts and bring peace," she would say, her voice carrying the same delicate certainty as the first rays of sunlight. Over time she noticed something remarkable. The more she voiced her artistic vision, the more clearly she could hear the melodies in her mind, and the more naturally her fingers found their way across the keys. When you speak your dreams into existence, you activate an ancient power within the universe. Your words become bridges between the realm of imagination and the world of physical form. Each statement serves as a blueprint that your mind can understand and follow, transforming abstract desires into clear directions for action. The Logos frequency operates like an invisible current, carrying your spoken intentions from thought into manifestation. Just as electricity flows through circuits to power light, your words flow through consciousness to illuminate paths of possibility. This energy doesn't require force or strain. It moves with the natural grace of water finding its course. Stanley, a craftsman, began each day by describing the workshop he intended to build. "My space welcomes creativity and craftsmanship," he would say while sipping his morning coffee. He didn't force the vision or demand immediate results. Instead, he let his words float in his awareness like gentle music. Soon, he found himself making small but significant choices, setting aside resources, sketching designs during lunch breaks, connecting with other artisans. His speech had quietly organized his actions around his intention, like iron filings aligning with a magnetic field. What you speak with consistent clarity becomes the compass by which your mind navigates daily choices. Reality first takes shape as words before it manifests as experience. Your voice acts as the mold into which circumstances pour themselves, forming the contours of your life. For your daily practice, each morning find a peaceful moment to speak one vision of your future. Let your voice carry relaxed confidence, as if you're simply describing what you already know will unfold. Allow these words to remain in your awareness throughout the day, like a soft melody playing in the background of your thoughts. Notice how your attention naturally begins to recognize opportunities that align with your spoken intention, and how your choices gradually orient themselves toward the future you're voicing into being. Part 2. Deepening the Creative Voice. Chapter 11. The Mirror of Spoken Identity. In a small flower shop filled with morning light, June arranged roses while quietly muttering about her misfortune. Another delivery had arrived late, and as always, she sighed, "Just my luck." This phrase had become as much a part of her daily routine as opening her shop or watering the plants. Yet one tranquil afternoon, while creating a wedding bouquet, she witnessed how this simple statement shaped her entire world. When customers praised her artistry, she deflected their words with tales of her usual bad fortune. When opportunities arose, she hesitated, already anticipating disappointment. Your words weave more than momentary experiences. They craft the very lens through which you perceive life. Each time you speak about yourself, you reinforce a story that becomes your living identity, coloring every moment with its particular shade of meaning. This identity acts as a filter, determining what you notice, what you expect, and how you respond to life's endless possibilities. The Logos frequency gains remarkable power when you mindfully reshape the language of self-description. Like a garden tended with care, your identity flourishes in the direction of your words. When you speak of yourself as growing, capable, and aligned with possibility, these qualities begin to emerge naturally in your behavior and experiences. Everett, a businessman facing industry changes, discovered this truth during a period of transition. Rather than describing himself as struggling to keep up, he began stating quietly each morning, "I learn quickly and adapt easily." He didn't force belief in these words. He simply offered them to his consciousness like seeds to fertile soil. Gradually, his approach to challenges shifted. Where he once saw obstacles, he began noticing opportunities for growth. His colleagues remarked on his innovative solutions, unaware that his expanding capabilities stemmed from a subtle shift in self-description. Identity statements operate as silent instructions to your subconscious mind, directing your attention toward experiences that validate your self-image. When you adjust these statements, even slightly, you initiate a gentle reformation of your entire life pattern. Your mind, ever faithful to your words, begins orchestrating circumstances that confirm your new story. For your practice, each morning, speak about yourself with gentle respect and curiosity. Rather than forcing dramatic declarations, allow your voice to calmly describe an identity that feels both authentic and expansive. You might say, "I am someone who grows through every experience," or "I meet each day with quiet strength." Let these words rest in your awareness, knowing that your mind is already beginning to align your life with this emerging vision of self. Chapter 12. When Words Calm the Storm. In the bustling marketplace of a small town, a kind-hearted shopkeeper named Lucy tended her store with gentle attention. Through years of serving customers, she discovered something remarkable. Whenever tension filled the air, her measured, unhurried speech seemed to transform the atmosphere. As voices around her grew sharp with frustration, Lucy would intentionally slow her responses, letting each word flow with reassuring warmth. Like magic, the charged energy would dissolve, replaced by a tangible sense of ease. This simple truth reveals a profound principle. The tone of your voice carries a frequency that ripples through your inner and outer world. When you speak with deliberate presence, you activate a harmonizing force that brings order to chaos, much like a conductor's gentle movements guide an orchestra into harmony. The Logos frequency awakens most powerfully, not through the words themselves, but through the quality of presence behind them. When your speech flows from a place of centered awareness, it carries a stabilizing vibration that can reorganize scattered energy into coherent patterns. This is why ancient wisdom traditions emphasize the power of measured, mindful speech. It serves as a tuning fork that aligns consciousness with higher frequencies of order and clarity. Raymond, a manager at a growing company, discovered this truth during a period of intense organizational change. Rather than matching the anxious tone of his colleagues, he began responding to challenges by speaking slowly and clearly about positive possibilities. Instead of saying, "This deadline is impossible," he would calmly state, "We will find an efficient way forward." To his amazement, the same team that had been resistant began offering creative solutions. His steady voice became a compass that guided collective energy toward constructive outcomes. This experience reveals how speech filled with steady presence becomes a signal that redirects attention from chaos to clarity. Your voice, when anchored in patience and peace, creates a field of coherence that invites others to resonate with that same frequency. During moments of heightened tension, pause and allow your breath to slow naturally. Then, speak words of reassurance with deliberate calm, as if you are sending ripples of peace through the atmosphere. Let your voice become an instrument of harmony, gently guiding scattered energies back into balance. This simple practice transforms your speech into a stabilizing presence that helps consciousness return to its natural state of order and clarity. Chapter 13. The Bridge Between Vision and Reality. In a sunlit studio filled with half-finished canvases and scattered brushes, a young artist named Dolly stood before her easel each morning, speaking her visions into the quiet air. Though her dreams seemed distant, she described them with vivid detail: exhibitions in grand galleries, students gathering to learn her techniques, and art that would touch hearts across continents. What began as whispered hopes gradually took shape in her mind, each spoken word adding color and dimension to her inner vision. Through this simple practice, an ancient truth reveals itself. When vision finds voice, the creative mind awakens. Your words, when aligned with sincere intention, become the architects of possibility. The Logos frequency, that subtle vibration underlying all creation, responds not to silent wishes alone, but to clearly articulated direction. As you speak your vision, you create a blueprint that your subconscious mind begins to follow. Consider Vincent, who transformed his life through the power of spoken intention. Each evening, he would sit in his garden and describe aloud the publishing house he dreamed of building. He spoke of the authors he would support, the stories that would emerge, and the lives that would be touched through literature. Though he began with only a small freelance editing business, his spoken vision became a compass guiding his choices. When opportunities for collaboration appeared, he recognized them instantly. When challenges arose, his clearly stated intention helped him navigate toward solutions. Within 3 years, his spoken dream manifested as a thriving independent press. Vincent's journey illuminates a universal principle. Language shapes the path between imagination and reality. Your voice becomes the bridge across which possibilities travel into manifestation. Each time you speak your vision with quiet confidence, you strengthen this bridge, making the path more clear and accessible. The world around you transforms according to the visions you consistently voice. Your spoken words act as instructions to the creative force of the universe, organizing circumstances and opportunities to align with your expressed intention. The eternal practice. Find a quiet moment each day to speak your vision aloud. Let your voice be calm and assured, as though you are describing something already unfolding. Speak with the natural confidence of one who knows their path is already appearing before them. Allow your words to paint the picture of your emerging reality, knowing that each spoken detail becomes a seed in the fertile soil of possibility. As you continue this practice, notice how your mind begins to recognize opportunities that align with your spoken vision, guiding you naturally toward its fulfillment. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Gentle Power of Naming. In a small village among rolling hills, a warm-spirited homemaker named Hazel spent her days tending to her household with mindful attention. Through years of managing daily life's ebb and flow, she stumbled upon a truth that would transform her experience. The names she gave to situations held surprising power over how she felt about them. When her children scattered toys across freshly cleaned floors, she began calling these moments signs of joyful life, rather than endless messes. When unexpected guests arrived just before dinner, she named these surprises occasions for sharing instead of interruptions. As she shifted her language, she noticed the weight of these situations lifting, as if the words themselves were keys unlocking different doors of perception. This simple truth reveals the subtle mechanism through which language shapes reality. Each word you speak acts as a lens through which you perceive and interpret your experiences. The Logos frequency activates most powerfully not through grand declarations, but through the quiet choices you make in naming your daily encounters. When you label a delay as wasted time, your mind organizes your emotional response around frustration and loss. But when you name that same delay as a moment to breathe, your nervous system relaxes into acceptance and possibility. The words you choose become instructions for how to feel, think, and respond to life's unfolding moments. Norman, a clockmaker in the city, discovered this principle when his shop faced increasing competition from modern retailers. Initially, he spoke of these challenges as threats to survival and found himself paralyzed with worry. Then, almost by accident, he began referring to them as opportunities for learning, and something shifted. His mind, following this new linguistic pathway, began generating creative solutions instead of fearful scenarios. Where he once saw only problems, he started noticing possibilities for innovation and growth. As Norman adjusted his language, his approach to his work transformed. Each difficult customer interaction became a chance to improve service. Every technological advance in his field became an invitation to expand skills. His curiosity naturally replaced frustration because his words had drawn a new map for his mind to follow. This principle emerges in your own life whenever you pause to notice the labels you assign to your experiences. The words you choose become the colors with which you paint your reality. They determine whether you see obstacles or stepping stones, burdens or blessings, endings or beginnings. To practice this ancient wisdom, move through your day with gentle awareness of the words you use to name your experiences. When you encounter a situation that challenges you, pause briefly. Notice the immediate label your mind wants to apply. Then, with soft intention, choose words that carry patience, curiosity, and openness. Let your language transform ordinary challenges into invitations for growth, allowing each moment to unfold with fresh potential through the lens of your chosen words. Chapter 15. Speaking Possibility into Ordinary Moments. In the bustling warmth of a small-town diner, Ruby moved between tables with a natural grace, her words floating like gentle whispers of encouragement to each person she served. "Your day is about to get brighter," she would say, setting down a steaming cup of coffee. "Something wonderful is already unfolding," she'd mention while jotting down orders. At first, these phrases flowed from her simply because they felt right. But as seasons passed, she noticed something extraordinary. The same words that lifted others were quietly transforming her own spirit. The wisdom hidden within Ruby's experience unveils a fundamental truth. Language shapes reality not through grand ceremonies or complex rituals, but through the subtle power of everyday conversation. Each casual exchange, each simple statement, carries the seeds of creation. When you speak, you are always participating in the formation of experience, whether conscious of it or not. The Logos frequency flows most purely through natural, unforced expression. It requires no special circumstances, no elaborate preparations, Its power lives in the ordinary moments, in greetings, in casual conversations, in the quiet comments you make while going about your day. When your words consistently carry tones of openness, possibility, and appreciation, reality begins responding to that frequency. Oliver, a local shopkeeper, discovered this truth almost by accident. Where he once spoke of his business challenges with frustration, he began instead to say things like, "We're finding new ways to serve our customers," or "Each day brings fresh opportunities." He talked about his family relationships with phrases like, "We're growing closer," rather than dwelling on conflicts. At first, these shifts felt small, almost insignificant. Yet gradually, subtle changes appeared. Customers seemed more engaged, family dinners became warmer, solutions emerged more easily. The atmosphere of his life began to mirror the gentle optimism in his words. The creative force of language operates like the steady flow of a river, not through sudden bursts, but through consistent movement in a chosen direction. Each hopeful phrase, each appreciative comment contributes to this flow, slowly carving new channels of experience. As you move through your hours, let simple words of possibility naturally weave through your conversations. "This is working out beautifully," you might say while handling a task. "The perfect solution is already emerging," you could mention when discussing a challenge. Allow these gentle statements to flow easily, without force or pretense. Like drops of water shaping stone, your everyday language quietly but persistently reshapes the landscape of your reality. The practice. Throughout your day, speak small phrases of hope and possibility into ordinary moments. Let appreciative observations naturally enter your conversations. "What a perfect morning for new beginnings," or "I can feel things falling into place." These simple statements, offered genuinely and consistently, begin creating subtle shifts in the emotional atmosphere around you, gradually transforming how life unfolds. Chapter 16. The Sound of Inner Agreement. In the quiet halls of a small suburban school, Edith discovered a truth that would transform her understanding of speech's creative power. Each morning, she stood before her mirror, repeating affirmations she had learned from various books. Yet something felt hollow in these moments. The words seemed to bounce off an invisible wall of disbelief. One morning, rather than forcing grand declarations, she simply whispered, "I am learning to lead with wisdom." This modest statement resonated deeply, carrying a ring of truth she could feel in her heart. In that moment, she understood that the power of speech flows not from the words alone, but from their harmony with inner conviction. This insight reveals a fundamental principle of the Logos frequency, that creative speech requires alignment between what is spoken and what is believed. When words and beliefs move in different directions, they create interference patterns that diminish their power. Yet when gentle speech walks hand in hand with growing belief, a natural amplification occurs. The mind does not easily embrace statements that contradict its established patterns. Forcing yourself to declare, "I am completely confident," while feeling deeply uncertain, creates inner conflict rather than transformation. Instead, the art lies in choosing words that stretch current beliefs while remaining within reach of acceptance. Howard, a quiet accountant, embodied this principle when he began his own journey with creative speech. Rather than demanding immediate change, he spoke to himself with the patience of a trusted mentor. "I'm noticing small improvements each day," he would say, or I'm becoming more at ease in challenging situations. These phrases felt authentic while gently expanding his sense of possibility. As days passed, Howard found that the resistance he once felt toward more empowering statements began to soften. His mind, no longer defending against forced positivity, naturally opened to new perspectives. The words he spoke became seeds planted in fertile soil rather than scattered on resistant ground. This reveals that transformation through speech follows natural laws of growth. Just as a plant cannot be forced to bloom before its time, belief cannot be commanded into new forms. Instead, it responds to patient nurturing through words that honor where we are while pointing toward where we wish to go. The practice. Close your eyes and bring awareness to your breath. Notice the thoughts and beliefs currently present in your mind. Now, begin speaking words that feel both honest and hopeful about your life. Let these statements emerge naturally, like gentle whispers of possibility. I am learning. I am growing. I am opening to new opportunities. Continue this practice for several minutes, allowing your voice to guide belief forward with patience and care. Remember that alignment comes through gentle persistence rather than force. Your words are planting seeds that will blossom in their own perfect time. Chapter 17. The Rhythm of Affirming Speech. In the gentle hush of a sunlit music studio, piano teacher Irene observed a truth as clear as the notes her students played. She discovered that when she repeated encouraging words in rhythm with their practice, steady and sure, flowing like water, each note finds its place. Their confidence grew like a melody gaining strength. Her words, matched to the tempo of their playing, seemed to weave into their movements, transforming hesitation into harmony. This simple observation unveils a deeper principle. The logos frequency gains power through rhythmic repetition. Just as a pianist strengthens their skill through consistent practice, the mind absorbs and integrates words that arrive in steady patterns. Your thoughts and beliefs are shaped not by occasional declarations, but by the quiet persistence of phrases that return again and again, like waves touching the shore. Think of language as music. Each word carries a note, each phrase a melody. When you speak the same supportive words consistently, you create a rhythm that your consciousness begins to dance to. This is not about forcing yourself to believe something through sheer repetition. Rather, it's about creating a gentle cadence that allows new possibilities to settle naturally into your awareness. Samuel, a craftsman who often faced challenging projects, discovered this principle in his own way. During moments of difficulty, he would quietly repeat to himself, "I move forward with patience. I grow stronger with each step." At first, the words felt mechanical, but as days passed into weeks, they began to flow with his breath, becoming as natural as his heartbeat. The steady rhythm of these words gradually transformed his response to obstacles, not through force, but through familiarity. This reveals a vital truth about the nature of transformation. Change flows most smoothly when it moves to a steady beat. Your mind recognizes and responds to patterns, and words spoken in consistent rhythm become like trusted companions guiding your journey. The ancient practice that emerges from this understanding is beautifully simple. Choose a phrase that resonates with your heart's intention. As you walk, let your footsteps carry its rhythm. As you breathe, let each inhale and exhale embrace the words. As you rest, let them float gently through your consciousness. Don't strain or force. Simply allow the natural rhythms of your day to become the drum that carries these words deeper into your being. Over time, you'll find them rising spontaneously in your awareness, like a favorite song that plays itself in your mind. This creates a subtle but powerful shift. Your chosen words begin to pulse with the very rhythm of your life, transforming from mere sounds into the music that guides your way forward. Chapter 18. Words that invite opportunity. In a small town that seemed much like any other, a postman named Clyde carried more than letters along his daily route. He carried an infectious spirit of possibility. Each morning, as he made his rounds, Clyde would greet neighbors with warmth in his voice, speaking of the wonderful surprises the day might hold. "The sun feels particularly bright today," he would say, or, "There's something special in the air this morning." Those who received their mail from Clyde often found themselves smiling long after he had moved on to the next house. What Clyde discovered, though he never studied the ancient laws of creation, was that his words were doing more than simply spreading cheer. His optimistic language was actively directing attention toward the hidden gifts each day contained. When he spoke of opportunity, people began noticing chances they had overlooked. When he mentioned the beauty of the morning, others started perceiving the world's subtle charms. The Logos frequency operates through this precise mechanism. Language shapes the lens through which reality is perceived. Every statement of expectation becomes a quiet instruction to the mind, telling it what patterns to seek, what evidence to gather, what possibilities to notice. Words do not merely describe what is seen. They determine what can be seen. This truth revealed itself clearly through Florence, who worked at the local library. For years, she had moved through her days with little expectation of change or growth. But something shifted when she began describing her future with quiet anticipation. "I'm curious to see what unexpected doors might open," she would say softly to herself. "Each day brings me closer to something wonderful." At first, nothing seemed different. But gradually, Florence began noticing small opportunities she had previously missed. A flyer for a writing workshop, a conversation with a traveler that sparked new ideas, an invitation to teach evening classes. These possibilities had always existed, but her new language had tuned her awareness to perceive them. This reveals a fundamental truth about the creative power of speech. Expectation acts as a lens, focusing attention toward or away from life's endless possibilities. The mind, ever faithful to the direction of language, will search tirelessly for evidence that confirms what is spoken. Speak of limitation, and limitations become apparent. Speak of opportunity, and opportunities emerge from the fabric of ordinary moments. The practice of this wisdom requires no complex ritual. Each morning, as the day begins to unfold, take a moment to speak a few calm sentences that welcome positive surprises. Let your voice express genuine openness to the good that life might bring. "Today holds wonderful possibilities," you might say, or "I welcome the unexpected gifts this day will reveal." Allow these words to set an atmosphere where opportunities feel natural and welcome, where positive surprises seem not just possible, but probable. Chapter 19. The Harmony Between Listening and Speaking. In the quiet sanctuary of her library, Agnes moved through towering shelves with graceful purpose. She knew each book held its own wisdom, yet her greatest insight emerged not from the volumes she tended, but from the art of deep listening. Through years of greeting patrons and guiding their searches, she learned that true understanding bloomed in the space between words. When visitors approached her desk, Agnes developed a practice of allowing their questions to fully settle before offering guidance. In those moments of receptive silence, she often discovered that what people initially asked for wasn't always what they truly sought. A request for books on career change might reveal a deeper yearning for purpose. A search for gardening guides could mask a desire for growth and renewal. This subtle art of listening transforms the nature of speech itself. When words arise from the soil of attentive awareness, they carry a different quality, one that resonates with the deeper currents of life. The Logos frequency strengthens not through mere speaking, but through the marriage of deep listening and intentional response. Bernard, a businessman known for his quick decisions, discovered this truth during a period of professional challenge. His habit of rapid-fire responses had created misunderstandings that echoed through his organization. Upon learning the power of the pause, he began creating small spaces of silence before each response. In meetings, when questions arose, Bernard would take a conscious breath. This simple practice allowed his mind to settle, like clear water in a previously stirred pond. His colleagues noticed the shift. His words now carried more weight. His suggestions held deeper insight. What changed wasn't just his speech, but the quality of awareness from which it emerged. The ancient truth reveals itself. Words spoken from stillness carry greater power than those born of reaction. When language flows from a space of inner quiet, it naturally aligns with the creative forces of the universe. The Logos frequency amplifies when speech arises not from the need to fill silence, but from the wisdom of having first embraced it. The practice. As you move through your daily interactions, cultivate the art of the sacred pause. Before responding to any question or situation, allow yourself a moment of quiet presence. Let your awareness gather fully before speaking. This simple practice creates a bridge between inner stillness and outer expression, allowing your words to carry the resonance of thoughtful intention. Through this gentle discipline, your speech becomes a clear channel for the Logos frequency, transforming ordinary conversations into opportunities for deeper connection and understanding. Chapter 20. The Voice That Shapes Tomorrow. In the gentle glow of morning light, a bright-spirited seamstress named Violet sat by her window, needle moving gracefully through fabric as she softly spoke of the bustling shop she would one day own. With each stitch, she wove words of possibility into the air, describing the warmth and creativity that would fill her future workspace. Her quiet voice carried no desperate yearning, only peaceful certainty as she painted pictures with words while her hands remained steady at their craft. Within this simple scene lies a profound truth. Tomorrow takes shape in the language of today. Your words are not merely descriptions of what might be, but subtle instructions to the deepening layers of mind and spirit. When you speak of future possibilities with gentle assurance, you plant seeds of expectation that begin sprouting in present choices and actions. The Logos frequency operates as an invisible bridge, connecting the moment that is with the moment that approaches. Each word spoken about tomorrow creates ripples in today's awareness, subtly guiding perception toward pathways that align with the future being described. This is not mere wishful thinking, but the activation of an ancient principle. That speech shapes the direction of attention, and attention shapes the flow of life itself. Consider George, who worked in a small office but dreamed of starting his own business. Rather than speaking of his goal as a distant hope, he began describing his entrepreneurial path as though he were already walking it. "I am learning what I need to know," he would say quietly to himself. "Each day brings me closer to independence." At first, nothing seemed to change. But gradually, George noticed himself making different choices. He began reading business articles during his lunch break. He started conversations with shop owners in his neighborhood. He found himself setting aside a portion of each paycheck, creating a foundation for his future venture. The simple shift in his language had awakened a quiet courage that transformed hesitation into measured action. This reveals the subtle power of future-shaping speech. Your words about tomorrow influence your choices today, creating a self-fulfilling cycle of intention and action. When you speak with calm certainty about what approaches, your mind begins organizing your present experience to align with that spoken vision. As each day unfolds, take a moment to speak about your approaching future with steady confidence. Let your voice carry the quiet authority of one who knows that reality responds to the tone of expectation. Speak of tomorrow, not with desperate longing, but with peaceful assurance, allowing your words to create a bridge that your actions can naturally cross. Practice. Each morning, find a quiet moment to speak 3 or 4 sentences about the future you are moving toward. Let your voice carry calm confidence as though you are simply describing a path already unfolding. Allow these words to linger in your awareness throughout the day, gently guiding your choices and attention toward the reality you are speaking into existence. Part 3. Mastering the Logos Frequency. Chapter 21. The Voice That Commands Attention. In the warmth of late afternoon sunlight streaming through her bookstore window, Nellie arranged volumes on wooden shelves while speaking softly with customers about their literary interests. Over time, she noticed something peculiar. When she discussed books with genuine enthusiasm and calm certainty, people would unconsciously draw closer, their attention deepening as though pulled by an invisible thread. This simple observation reveals a profound truth about the nature of speech. When words emerge from a place of inner clarity and conviction, they carry a subtle resonance that others naturally attune to. This resonance is not created through force or volume, but through alignment between thought, feeling, and expression. The Logos frequency manifests most powerfully not through domination of conversation, but through presence, that rare quality where speech becomes an extension of inner certainty. Like a clear bell ringing in still air, words spoken from this centered place seem to pierce through the usual mental static that clouds human interaction. They reach both the conscious and unconscious mind of the listener, creating ripples of recognition and response. This principle found perfect illustration through Frederick, a normally reserved accountant who decided to experiment with more deliberate speech. Rather than rushing to fill conversational spaces or matching others' rapid pace, he began allowing his words to emerge slowly, each one carried on a current of careful thought. At first, this felt uncomfortable, like swimming against the usual tide of quick exchanges. Yet, gradually, Frederick noticed subtle shifts in how others received his words. Colleagues who once seemed distracted now gave him their full attention. Ideas he expressed carried more weight in meetings, Even casual conversations took on new depth. The simple act of speaking with unhurried intention had transformed the quality of his interactions. His experience demonstrates how the energetic authority of speech flows not from external power, but from internal alignment. When words arise from clarity rather than reaction, they naturally command attention because they carry the resonance of truth rather than the static of habit. The key lies not in trying to influence others, but in allowing speech to emerge from a place of centered awareness. Like a stream flowing from a clear spring, words that arise from inner clarity carry their own natural authority. For your daily practice, as you engage in meaningful conversations, consciously slow your pace of speech. Let each word emerge with deliberate care, as though you are placing stepping stones across a stream. Notice how this measured rhythm naturally grounds your voice and steadies your presence. Through this simple practice, your speech will gradually develop a quiet authority that shapes the emotional atmosphere of every interaction. Chapter 22. The Energy Within Simple Words. In the heart of a quiet village lived a kind-hearted tailor named Hattie, whose small shop rang with the gentle hum of her sewing machine. Through years of serving her community, she discovered something remarkable. Even the simplest words like hello or thank you carried vastly different energies depending on how she spoke them. When rushed, these phrases felt hollow, but when infused with genuine warmth, they seemed to brighten the entire shop. The truth Hattie uncovered speaks to a fundamental aspect of the Logos frequency. Its power flows not through complexity, but through authenticity. You need not craft elaborate declarations or memorize lengthy affirmations to harness this creative force. The universe responds most powerfully to simple words, spoken with deep awareness and sincere intention. Think of language as pure water. Its clarity matters more than its quantity. A single sentence uttered with complete presence carries more transformative potential than 1,000 distracted affirmations. The Logos frequency amplifies not the sophistication of your words, but the depth of consciousness behind them. This wisdom found beautiful expression through Douglas, a local carpenter who struggled with morning anxiety. Rather than attempting to overhaul his entire mental landscape, he began each day by speaking just 3 words. Thank you, life. At first it felt mechanical, but as he continued, allowing himself to truly feel the gratitude in each syllable, something shifted. The simple phrase became a doorway to genuine appreciation. Within weeks, his mornings transformed from periods of worry into moments of quiet enthusiasm. Douglas's experience reveals that when we infuse even the most basic expressions with genuine feeling, they become powerful tools for emotional alchemy. The words themselves matter less than the quality of awareness we pour into them. Simple statements, repeated with presence, create resonant frequencies that shape our inner atmosphere. This same principle applies to all speech throughout your day. Each word you speak carries an energetic signature determined not by its dictionary definition, but by the consciousness behind it. When you bring full attention to even mundane exchanges, they become opportunities to transmit healing frequencies into your environment. The practice. As you begin each new day, speak 3 to 5 words of sincere appreciation. They might be as simple as, I welcome this day, or life is a gift. Allow your voice to carry genuine warmth and attentiveness. Let these few conscious words set the tone for all that follows, creating a foundation of gratitude that naturally shapes your perception and actions throughout the day. Chapter 23. The Courage to Speak New Possibilities. In a quiet corner of a small-town library, Sadie spent her days surrounded by thousands of stories, yet kept her own dreams tucked away in silence. Each time she felt the urge to speak of her hopes, to open a reading sanctuary for children in need, she would pause, as if saying the words might somehow diminish their magic or expose them to judgment. Yet as seasons passed, Sadie began to notice how unspoken dreams seemed to fade like untended gardens. It was through watching young readers discover their favorite stories that she realized a profound truth. Until thoughts are given voice, they remain shadows in the mind, their potential locked away in silence. The universe responds not just to what you think, but to what you dare to speak. When you withhold your voice from your deepest aspirations, you unknowingly signal to your mind that these dreams must remain in the realm of fantasy. Speaking your intentions aloud transforms them from mere whispers of possibility into seeds of potential that the mind can begin to nurture. This truth became evident in the story of Alvin, who harbored a vision of creating a small artisanal bakery that would bring traditional recipes back to life. For years, he kept this dream private, treating it as a secret wish rather than a growing possibility. But one morning, something shifted. During a conversation with a friend, Alvin allowed himself to speak of his vision with quiet enthusiasm. The simple act of giving voice to his dream seemed to change its very nature, from an abstract hope to a tangible direction. As Alvin continued to speak of his bakery with gentle certainty, unexpected doors began to open. A retiring baker offered guidance, a local business owner mentioned an available storefront, and community members expressed excitement about his traditional approach. Each spoken word seemed to weave a web of connections that his silence could never have created. The power of the Logos frequency emerges not through forceful declarations, but through the gentle courage of speaking possibility into existence. When you give voice to your aspirations, you create a bridge between imagination and reality, one that your mind can begin to cross. The ancient practice passed down through generations invites you to speak one hope, one possibility, one dream aloud each day. Let your voice carry these words not with desperate intensity, but with calm assurance. As you continue this practice, notice how speaking your aspirations gradually dissolves the barrier between what is imagined and what becomes possible. Your voice becomes a key that unlocks doors previously invisible to your awareness. Chapter 24. When Language Heals the Mind. In the quiet halls of a bustling hospital, gentle Nurse Lottie noticed something remarkable about her interactions with patients. When she spoke with soft reassurance, their vital signs would often stabilize, their breathing would deepen, and their faces would relax. Through countless bedside conversations, she discovered that words carried a healing resonance far beyond their literal meaning. The human voice holds a profound ability to influence both emotional and physical states. When language flows with genuine care and steady presence, it creates a field of comfort that allows the nervous system to release tension and find balance. This healing dimension of the Logos frequency emerges naturally when speech carries the warmth of authentic compassion. Consider how your body responds when someone speaks to you with sincere kindness. The shoulders soften, the breath deepens, and a subtle wave of relief spreads through your awareness. This is not merely an emotional reaction. It represents a fundamental shift in your nervous system state. The voice that offers genuine care becomes a tuning fork that helps realign scattered energies into harmonious patterns. Russell discovered this truth during a period of intense self-doubt about his creative work. Rather than allowing his inner dialogue to spiral into harsh criticism, he began speaking to himself as though addressing a trusted friend. When uncertainty arose, he would say quietly, "Take your time. You're learning and growing through this process." When faced with setbacks, he would remind himself gently, "This challenge is teaching you something valuable." At first, this felt unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, but as days passed into weeks, Russell noticed a profound shift. The kind words he offered himself began creating an inner atmosphere of emotional safety. His resilience grew stronger, not through forced positivity, but through the patient presence he learned to offer himself through language. This reveals a vital truth. Your mind responds to compassionate speech regardless of its source. The same comfort that flows from a caring friend can emerge from your own voice when you learn to speak to yourself with understanding rather than judgment. The practice becomes a quiet inner conversation where you speak kindly to yourself during challenging moments, allowing your voice to replace criticism with understanding and gradually cultivate emotional balance. Let your words become a gentle hand extended toward yourself, creating space for both growth and acceptance to unfold naturally. Chapter 25. The Echo That Shapes Belief. In a small radio station perched atop rolling hills, Winnie spent her evenings monitoring signals and transmissions. Night after night, she noticed something peculiar about the way radio waves behaved. How certain frequencies, when repeated, would return with greater strength and clarity. The echo seemed to build upon itself, growing more defined with each iteration. This observation sparked a deeper understanding within her about the nature of words and their impact on the human spirit. Just as radio signals gained strength through repetition, she realized that the phrases we speak to ourselves become more potent each time they're uttered. The power of repetition in shaping belief operates much like these radio waves. When you consistently speak words of encouragement, strength, or possibility, these messages begin to resonate more strongly within your consciousness. The subconscious mind, ever attentive to patterns, accepts frequently repeated statements as fundamental truths about reality. This principle reveals why the logos frequency grows in power through consistent repetition. Your inner world transforms not through occasional affirmations, but through the steady rhythm of empowering language that gradually becomes your natural inner voice. As you align your speech with possibility and strength, these qualities begin to echo through your thoughts with increasing clarity. Calvin, a dedicated craftsman, discovered this truth while working on intricate woodworking projects. Whenever challenges arose, he would quietly repeat, "I find solutions through patience and persistence." At first, these words felt mechanical, almost foreign. Yet as days turned to weeks, he noticed these phrases arising spontaneously in his mind during difficult moments. The words had transformed from conscious repetition into genuine conviction, guiding his responses to challenges with newfound steadiness. His experience illuminates how belief often emerges from verbal rehearsal. Like a signal growing stronger with each transmission, repeated language shapes the very foundation of our confidence and capability. The mind gradually accepts these verbal patterns as evidence of truth, allowing them to influence both thought and action. Practice. As you move through your day, choose one phrase of encouragement that resonates with your current journey. Repeat it softly during quiet moments, while walking, working, or resting. Let its rhythm become familiar, like a gentle background frequency. Notice how this phrase begins to echo naturally in your awareness, especially during moments of challenge. This simple practice allows the power of repeated language to gradually reshape your inner dialogue, creating new patterns of thought and belief. Chapter 26. Speaking Peace into Conflict. In the gentle stillness of her small antique shop, Martha witnessed countless interactions between eager sellers and hesitant buyers. Through years of observation, she discovered a truth as valuable as any item in her collection: the power of peaceful words to transform tense moments into opportunities for understanding. When confronted with heated negotiations, Martha would soften her voice and choose words that honored both perspectives. "I understand this piece holds special meaning for you," she would say to a seller. Or, "I can see why you feel this price reflects its value," to a cautious buyer. Through this simple practice, she noticed how the atmosphere would shift, as if her calm words created a space where both parties could meet in mutual respect. The voice carries a frequency that either amplifies or soothes the emotional climate of any interaction. When words emerge from a place of genuine understanding rather than defensive reaction, they become bridges rather than barriers. This transformation occurs not through complex techniques, but through the simple choice to speak with awareness and patience. Edwin discovered this truth during his weekly management meetings, where once he would react defensively to criticism about his department's performance, he began experimenting with a different approach. Instead of immediately justifying his decisions, he would pause and say, "Help me understand your perspective more clearly." Or when faced with direct challenges, he would respond, "Let's explore this concern together." At first, this shift felt uncomfortable, almost vulnerable. Yet as weeks passed, Edwin noticed a remarkable change. His colleagues, who once approached these meetings with tension, began offering their concerns as invitations for collaboration, rather than accusations. The very nature of their interactions transformed, not because circumstances had changed, but because the frequency of the dialogue had shifted from confrontation to cooperation. This reveals a profound truth about the Logos frequency. When speech flows from a place of calm intention, it creates a field of understanding that naturally dissolves resistance. The words themselves become instruments of peace, turning potential conflicts into pathways for deeper connection. The ancient practice of harmonious speech requires only that you pause before responding in moments of tension. Let your voice become an instrument of peace, speaking each word with the same care you would use to handle a delicate treasure. When others raise their voices, lower yours slightly. When emotions run high, let your words flow with steady calmness. Practice this by allowing a gentle pause before responding in any disagreement. Feel the power of speaking slowly, maintaining an unwavering respect in your tone. Let your voice become a steady light that guides conversation toward clarity rather than conflict. In this way, every interaction becomes an opportunity to transform discord into harmony through the conscious use of language. Chapter 27. The Voice of Gratitude. In a small village among rolling hills lived a gardener named Ida, whose gentle presence brought warmth to all who knew her. Each morning, as she tended her flourishing garden, she would softly speak words of thanks to the sun for its light, to the earth for its abundance, and to the rain for its nourishing gifts. Those who passed by often paused, drawn to the peaceful energy that seemed to radiate from her garden. Through Ida's simple practice, a profound truth emerges. Gratitude expressed through words creates an expanding field of awareness that attracts more reasons to be thankful. When appreciation flows through language, it activates the Logos frequency in its most natural form, opening the eyes of the heart to see beauty and blessing in every direction. The voice of gratitude acts as a lens through which reality transforms. Each thank you, spoken aloud, sends ripples through consciousness, training the mind to recognize abundance rather than scarcity. This is not mere positive thinking, but rather an alignment with a fundamental law of creation. What is acknowledged with genuine appreciation tends to multiply in experience. Victor, a local merchant, discovered this truth during a challenging period in his business. Instead of focusing on daily difficulties, he began setting aside time each evening to speak words of gratitude for the lessons and progress of the day. At first, it felt mechanical, almost forced. But as days passed into weeks, something shifted within him. His evening practice became a cherished ritual, and he found himself naturally noticing moments of grace throughout his day. What began as a simple exercise in speaking appreciation evolved into a profound transformation of perception. Victor discovered that gratitude expressed through language created a quiet alchemy in his consciousness. Challenges began appearing as opportunities, and small blessings took on deeper significance. The key lies not in the complexity of expression, but in the sincerity of appreciation. When gratitude flows through speech, it creates a resonance that attracts similar experiences, as though the universe itself responds to the frequency of thankfulness. The practice gently becomes a nightly moment of softly expressing appreciation for the experiences of the day, allowing gratitude to settle into the mind like a peaceful closing melody. Chapter 28. The Harmony Between Thought and Voice. In a small music studio filled with afternoon light, violin teacher Elsie May would often pause during lessons to help her students discover the secret of beautiful music. She noticed that when each instrument in an ensemble played its part with perfect timing and pitch, something magical emerged, a resonance that touched the heart more deeply than any single melody could achieve alone. This simple observation reveals a profound truth about the creative power of speech. Just as music requires harmony between different instruments, the Logos frequency reaches its full potency when thought, emotion, and spoken word align in perfect resonance. When these elements work together, they create a vibration that shapes reality with remarkable clarity and grace. Many speak positive words while harboring doubt within, creating a subtle dissonance that weakens their creative power. It is like an orchestra where one instrument plays slightly out of tune. The entire performance loses its transformative impact. The misalignment between internal belief and external expression creates resistance that diminishes the strength of intention. True creative power emerges when inner conviction matches outer expression. Every word spoken then carries the full weight of authentic belief, allowing the logos frequency to flow without interference. This alignment acts as a clear channel through which intention can manifest into experience. Harold Dean discovered this principle through an unexpected path. As a mentor to young professionals, he often shared words of encouragement and possibility with others. Yet he noticed a subtle hollowness in his guidance until he began intentionally aligning his own thoughts with the supportive messages he offered. As his internal dialogue shifted to match his external expression, he experienced a deepening sense of authenticity. His words carried greater impact because they emerged from genuine belief rather than mere technique. This demonstrates how harmony within language creates emotional clarity. When thought and speech move together in natural agreement, the mind no longer wastes energy resolving internal contradictions. Instead, it channels that energy into manifesting the reality being expressed. The practice gently invites you to notice whether spoken words feel emotionally true and to adjust them until they resonate with sincerity, allowing thought and voice to move together in quiet agreement. Chapter 29. Living as the Speaker of Reality. A bright morning sun streamed through Rosie Bell's studio window as she worked at her easel, her paintbrush moving with gentle purpose across the canvas. "Each stroke brings new life," she would say to her students, "just as each word we speak paints the picture of our tomorrow." Through years of teaching art, Rosie Bell had discovered a truth far deeper than technique, that the way she described life itself was much like applying paint to an empty canvas, with every statement adding color, texture, and meaning to the emerging image of reality. This wisdom reveals an essential truth. You become an active creator in the unfolding story of your life when you recognize the profound influence your words carry. The logos frequency awakens fully when you step into conscious partnership with language, choosing expressions that paint possibility rather than limitation, growth rather than stagnation, and direction rather than drift. Just as an artist selects colors with intention, your words can be chosen to express the future you wish to create. This is not about denying present circumstances, but about speaking with awareness that each sentence contributes to the emerging picture of your life. When you describe challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles, you begin painting a different reality, one that invites solutions rather than reinforces problems. Clifford, a quiet accountant, found himself transformed by this understanding. He began approaching every conversation as though he held a brush in his hand, carefully selecting words that would strengthen the reality he wished to create. Where he once spoke of getting through another day, he began describing his work as building towards something meaningful. In team meetings, rather than focusing on problems, he would guide discussions toward solutions with phrases like, "Here's what we can create," and "Let's explore how to make this work." As weeks passed, Clifford noticed his actions naturally aligning with his newly chosen language. His words had become like guideposts, subtly directing his choices and behaviors toward the vision he was consistently expressing. He found himself taking initiative where he once hesitated, seeing possibilities where he previously noticed only limitations. This transformation reveals a profound truth. The words you speak serve as both declaration and invitation. They declare your chosen perspective while simultaneously inviting circumstances that match that declaration. Like an artist's brushstrokes, they begin creating the very reality they describe. The practice becomes a gentle daily art, speaking about your life with calm intention, allowing every description of events, plans, and goals to carry the quiet confidence of someone actively shaping the story they are living. Let your voice become the brush that paints each moment with conscious awareness, knowing that your words are creating ripples of possibility in the canvas of reality. Chapter 30. The Logos Frequency Within You. In a small village among rolling hills lived Annie Lou, whose warm voice drew people from miles around to hear her stories. As she shared tales by candlelight, she understood that words carried more than mere meaning. They held the power to transform the very air around her. Each story she told seemed to weave an invisible tapestry of possibility in the minds of those who listened. This sacred truth echoes through the ages. The Logos frequency flows through every human voice, waiting to be awakened through conscious speech. It is not a mystical power reserved for the chosen few, but a natural birthright sleeping within each spoken word. When you align your voice with intention, you step into your role as a conscious creator of experience. Your words are not simply describing the world, they are continuously programming the field of possibility around you. Each statement carries a vibration that ripples through your consciousness, subtly shaping how you perceive, believe, and act. The power lies not in forcing artificial positivity, but in speaking with genuine awareness of this creative partnership between voice and reality. Theodore James discovered this truth during a period of transition in his life. Rather than letting circumstances dictate his speech, he chose to describe his daily experiences through the lens of hope and creative potential. When challenges arose, he spoke of them as opportunities for growth. When uncertainty appeared, his words carried patient trust in the unfolding process. Over time, Theodore James noticed a subtle shift. His calm, hopeful language began creating an atmosphere that attracted matching experiences. Opportunities aligned more naturally with his spoken intentions. Relationships reflected the warmth he expressed. His entire life seemed to reorganize itself around the steady signal of his conscious speech. This transformation reveals the profound truth that your voice is not merely a tool for communication. It is an instrument of creation, continuously sending ripples of intention into the field of life itself. Every word you speak becomes a seed planted in the soil of reality, growing into experiences that match its emotional tone and direction. The practice. Let your voice become an expression of conscious creation. Begin each day by speaking with gentle awareness, allowing your words to carry kindness, clarity, and purposeful intention. Notice how your speech shapes the atmosphere of your experiences. Over time, you will discover that thought, speech, and reality naturally align themselves with the creative frequency of your awakened voice. This is not a technique to master, but a remembering of the power that has always lived within your words. Part 4. The Living Expression of the Logos. Chapter 31. The Whisper That Changes Direction. In a small town where pianos whispered melodies through open windows, Beatrice made her living bringing harmony back to tired instruments. Each morning, as she prepared for her day of tuning, she would speak softly to herself. "Today holds something wonderful." At first these words felt hollow, a meaningless ritual that could hardly touch the weight of life's challenges. Yet as weeks passed, she began noticing subtle shifts in how she approached her work. The truth about transformation lies not in grand proclamations that shake the heavens, but in gentle words spoken faithfully in quiet moments. Like water flowing over stone, it is not the force, but the consistency that reshapes reality. The Logos frequency emerges first as a subtle voice within, suggesting new possibilities in familiar situations. When given voice, these internal whispers begin orchestrating external change. This sacred principle reveals itself through countless lives throughout history. What begins as a quiet thought when spoken aloud creates a bridge between internal awareness and external experience. Your words, no matter how softly spoken, carry seeds of change that take root in the fertile soil of consciousness. Frederica discovered this truth during her daily walks through the city park. Where once she saw only obstacles and irritations, she began whispering to herself, "Every moment offers a lesson waiting to be discovered." This simple phrase, repeated gently throughout her days, slowly transformed her perception. The crowded bus became a lesson in patience, the rainy morning a teacher of adaptability. What had changed was not the world itself, but the lens through which she viewed it. Your attention follows your words like a flower turning toward the sun. When you speak of possibility, your mind begins searching for opportunity. When you whisper of patience, your awareness expands to recognize perfect timing in all things. This is the subtle power of the Logos frequency, not in forcing change through loud declarations, but in guiding experience through consistent, gentle reminders of truth. The practice unfolds naturally. Choose one calm, supportive sentence that resonates with your heart's wisdom. Throughout your day, during simple moments, while washing dishes, walking to your car, waiting in line, whisper these words softly to yourself. Let your voice become a steady companion, quietly leading your thoughts toward clarity and patience. In this gentle practice, you align with the creative power that has always lived within your words. Chapter 32. The Voice That Awakens. Confidence. The dressmaker's needle moved with practiced precision as Millie watched her customers admire themselves in the mirror. For years, she marveled at their easy confidence, the way some walked into her shop with unwavering self-assurance, while others seemed to shrink within themselves. Through countless fittings and conversations, she began to notice a subtle pattern. Those who carried themselves with natural grace often spoke to themselves differently than those who doubted their worth. In moments of challenge, the confident ones would whisper words of encouragement under their breath. When faced with a difficult alteration, they would say, "I'll figure this out," rather than, "I can't do this." Their inner dialogue flowed like a gentle stream of support, while others' words cut like scissors through fabric, leaving ragged edges of self-doubt. The truth reveals itself with striking simplicity. Confidence flows not from an endless well of natural ability, but from the quiet stream of words we speak to ourselves in ordinary moments. The Logos frequency awakens most powerfully in these intimate conversations with the self. where every phrase either nurtures or diminishes our sense of capability. When you begin speaking to yourself as a trusted mentor would, with patience, understanding, and unwavering faith in your potential, the mind gradually accepts this new language as truth. Each supportive word becomes a thread in a stronger fabric of self-trust, woven through daily experience. Roland, a young carpenter, discovered this principle while crafting furniture in his workshop. Instead of labeling himself as just average at his craft, he began describing his skills as growing with each project. Rather than viewing mistakes as evidence of limitation, he spoke of them as stepping stones to mastery. Gradually, these small shifts in language transformed his approach to challenges. When offered the opportunity to create more complex pieces, he no longer hesitated with self-doubt, but approached them with quiet curiosity about what he might learn. His story illuminates a profound truth. The voice that speaks within shapes the actions that flow without. Confidence emerges not from the absence of uncertainty, but from the presence of supportive self-talk that acknowledges growth as a natural process. Your abilities are not fixed stars, but rising constellations, guided by the words you choose to illuminate your path. The ancient practice unfolds naturally throughout your day. As you engage in ordinary tasks, let your voice become a gentle companion of encouragement. While preparing a meal, remind yourself, I learn something new with each attempt. When facing a challenge, whisper, this difficulty strengthens my understanding. During moments of doubt, speak softly, I am growing steadily, day by day. Let these words flow not as hollow affirmations, but as quiet acknowledgments of your continuing journey. Each phrase becomes a small light, illuminating the path of gradual mastery, each word a thread strengthening the fabric of lasting confidence. Chapter 33. The Language of Peaceful Presence. In a small-town library between oak trees and quiet streets, Opal discovered a truth as gentle as the morning sunlight streaming through her windows. Each day, as she moved among the towering shelves and guided visitors through their literary searches, she noticed something remarkable. When she consciously slowed her speech, choosing each word with care and presence, a subtle transformation occurred. Not only did her own racing thoughts settle into peaceful rhythms, but those around her seemed to mirror this tranquility. The voice carries more than mere words. It transmits an energetic frequency that ripples through the atmosphere of shared spaces. When speech flows with measured grace and thoughtful intention, it creates an invisible field of harmony that others naturally attune to. This represents one of the most profound applications of the Logos frequency. Its ability to regulate emotional energy through the simple act of peaceful expression. Within every conversation lies the power to either escalate tension or invite calm understanding. Words spoken with presence and patience carry a stabilizing vibration that helps ground scattered energies and soothe agitated minds. This isn't about controlling others. It's about creating an environment where balance can naturally emerge. Theodore Ray discovered this truth during his work as a customer service manager. Where he once met complaints with quick defensive responses, he began experimenting with a different approach. He would pause, take a steady breath, and describe situations with careful, measured words. I understand your concern, and we'll explore this together, he would say, letting each word carry the weight of genuine attention. As weeks passed, Theodore Ray noticed a remarkable shift. Not only did difficult conversations become more manageable, but his entire department began operating with greater harmony. His team members started adopting similar patterns of speech, and even the most challenging customer interactions often transformed into cooperative dialogue. This illustrates how the emotional tone of speech acts as a tuning fork for human interaction. When one person commits to expressing themselves with calm presence, they create a reference point that helps others find their own equilibrium. The voice becomes a gentle anchor that can steady both speaker and listener amidst emotional storms. The transformation begins with a simple choice: to let words emerge not from reactive impulse but from centered awareness. Each time emotions begin to rise, whether in yourself or others, pause and allow your voice to become an instrument of peace. Speak a few thoughtful sentences slowly, letting their measured rhythm create space for clarity. This practice isn't about suppressing feeling, but about expressing it through language that invites understanding rather than escalation. Chapter 34. The Story You Tell the World. In the quietest moments between illustrations, Nell would often pause her work to listen to conversations drifting through her studio's open window. Day after day, she noticed how people walking past would share the same stories about themselves, tales that seemed to define who they believed they could become. Some spoke of endless struggles that appeared to justify continued caution, while others told of past victories that gave them courage to reach higher. Through years of observation, Nell realized that these personal narratives were far more than simple memories. They were living blueprints, continuously shaping each person's choices and possibilities. The words people used to describe their past experiences became the lens through which they viewed every new opportunity. This recognition unveils a profound truth about the creative power of personal storytelling. The tales you tell about your life are not mere reflections of what has happened, but active forces determining what you believe is possible. When you speak about your experiences, you are not simply describing history. You are programming the framework through which your mind will interpret and respond to future events. The Logos frequency becomes particularly potent when you begin consciously reshaping these personal narratives. By speaking about your experiences with an emphasis on growth, learning, and emerging wisdom, you activate a different kind of creative energy, one that transforms past challenges into stepping stones rather than barriers. Wallace discovered this power when facing a crucial business decision. For years, he had described his previous venture as a devastating failure that proved he wasn't meant for leadership. But one afternoon, he began speaking about that experience differently. Instead of focusing on the loss, he started describing how that challenge had taught him invaluable lessons about resilience, careful planning, and the importance of maintaining perspective during difficult times. As Wallace continued expressing this new interpretation of his story, something shifted in his demeanor. His voice carried a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. The past no longer appeared as a warning to retreat, but as a foundation of wisdom supporting his next steps. Soon, others began responding differently to his ideas, sensing the authentic strength that now infused his words. This transformation reveals a vital truth. When you change how you speak about your experiences, you alter both your own relationship with those memories and others' perception of your capabilities. Your voice becomes an instrument of conscious revision, transforming the stories that have shaped your identity. Each time you share a personal narrative, you have the opportunity to emphasize different aspects of that experience. The resilience you discovered, the wisdom you gained, or the strength that emerged from facing challenges. These reframed stories then become seeds planted in the soil of consciousness, growing into new possibilities for tomorrow. The practice. As you move through your day, choose one significant personal story and tell it anew. Speak it aloud with gentle emphasis on the growth, understanding, and inner resources you gained from that experience. Let your voice carry the quiet authority of someone who has learned rather than lost, who has grown stronger rather than been diminished. Allow this retelling to transform memory into a source of encouragement, wisdom, and renewed confidence for the path that lies ahead. Chapter 35. Becoming the Conscious Creator of Speech. In the corner of a sunlit bakery, Clarabelle stood each morning filling the air with the aroma of fresh bread and the sound of hopeful words. As customers gathered around her wooden counter sharing their morning stories, she noticed something remarkable occurring within the small space. The more she spoke of possibility and progress, the more her shop became a sanctuary where worries softened and spirits lifted. Through years of quiet observation, Clarabelle discovered that conversations held power beyond the simple exchange of words. When someone spoke of their dreams, others would lean in closer, their eyes brightening with recognition. When gratitude was expressed, it seemed to multiply, passing from one person to the next, like a gentle flame. The atmosphere itself appeared to respond to the tone of language shared within those walls. This simple truth reveals the deeper nature of the Logos frequency, that conscious speech creates ripples extending far beyond personal experience. Your voice does not merely express your own journey, but contributes to the emotional fabric of every space you enter. When you speak with intention, you become an instrument through which new possibilities emerge, not only in your life, but in the lives of those around you. Harold Lee understood this principle when he began approaching each conversation as an opportunity for creative expression. Whether speaking with colleagues about challenges or discussing future plans with his family, he carefully chose words that carried clarity, encouragement, and thoughtful direction. Soon, he noticed that others began matching his tone. Meetings became more productive, family discussions more supportive, and casual interactions more meaningful. Through Harold Lee's experience, we see that language creates an invisible architecture of thought and feeling. The words you choose act like seeds planted in the collective field of awareness. When you consistently speak with conscious intention, you help shape an environment where others naturally align with higher possibilities. Your voice holds this transformative power in every moment. Each greeting, each reflection, each shared story becomes part of the atmosphere you create. The Logos frequency flows through these daily exchanges, weaving together individual expressions into a shared tapestry of meaning and possibility. The practice gently encourages you to speak each day with mindful awareness, allowing every greeting, reflection, and conversation to carry the quiet intention of someone who understands that their voice is continuously shaping the atmosphere of reality. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. In the quiet moments of daily life, you have discovered a profound truth that has echoed through the ages. Your voice shapes the reality you experience. This understanding transcends mere positive thinking or casual affirmation. It reveals the deep connection between consciousness, language, and manifestation. The Logos frequency flows through every word you speak, whether in peaceful solitude or active conversation. Each phrase carries a vibration that ripples through your thoughts, emotions, and ultimately your circumstances. This creative power does not require complex rituals or elaborate declarations. It lives in the simple, steady practice of intentional speech. When you speak without awareness, your words often reflect and reinforce existing patterns of thought and experience. Yet when you bring consciousness to your language, choosing words that carry clarity, wisdom, and possibility, you begin participating in the creative process that underlies all of life. This practice of speaking with divine intention does not mean claiming supernatural authority. Instead, it invites you to recognize that consciousness naturally expresses itself through language, and that you can align your speech with the higher principles of creation. Through this alignment, your voice becomes an instrument of transformation. As you cultivate this awareness, your conversations shift from unconscious reaction to conscious creation. Challenges transform into opportunities for growth. Limitations dissolve into possibilities. The inner dialogue that once created doubt now builds steady confidence and emotional resilience. The power of the Logos frequency awakens gradually through patient practice, consistent repetition, and sincere intention. Your voice becomes a gentle but powerful force, guiding your attention toward experiences that reflect the clarity, purpose, and possibility expressed in your words. In this way, ordinary speech becomes an extraordinary tool for creating the life you envision.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.